One, two, three. And I'm now joined here by Orla Kelly, who's a former Fine Gael candidate and also a former chair of Carlow Kilkenny Fine Gael. Orla, you've been busy tallying away since around 9 o'clock this morning.
9 o'clock, yeah.
How's it going?
It is very interesting and it is very close to call. So there are three Fine Gael candidates. So we open the Carlow boxes. So Catherine Caolan, who's a new candidate, she's doing very well, and I suspect she's going to be very transfer friendly. So I think she's going to come in a bit stronger than people possibly anticipated, because she is getting some votes. She's getting a few votes from a lot, even of Kilkenny, South Kilkenny boxes.
Okay.
So that's very interesting. Michael Doyle, we just tallied the Ross Birkin boxes there now. He's doing very well in his own areas. He seems to be doing well. And Dave Fitzgerald as well has done well on certain boxes. And then outside of that, so Newsom Drennan from Sinn Féin seems to be doing okay. Chap Clear is doing a bit less well than I thought. John McGuinness is holding his vote very well there. But I have a slightly skewed, because you go and it's just based on the boxes I've tallied.
Yeah.
So I don't have a kind of more overall view.
Because when you look at, generally, I think they opened the Carlow boxes earlier this morning, and I suppose the picture is going to be focused towards Carlow, and the people of Carlow did vote for Carlow, which makes sense, because if people with the population, as they're saying, increases in Carlow, that if they vote that way, there's a chance they could get two of the 5 seats.
Yeah, so it was very obvious in the Carlow boxes that the transfers were all. I know there was I know the Chamber had been out, and possibly rightly so, and they had said to keep the seat in Carlow. So the transfers in Carlow were definitely staying in Carlow rather than going cross party over to Kilkenny. But the other thing to notice is that the transfers anyway were not necessarily sticking within the parties
Going everywhere.
as they would have. Well, they're going, I think the geography is a certain question. And then some of them are going within the party. There's a bit between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael. There's quite a good cross transfer there. But it's just not as transfer predictable as it used to be. Yeah.
Things of.
So it makes for a dreadful time for all the candidates, and a great time for all us political anoraks, really.
Absolutely. So I'll hand you over to another political anorak, Paidi Manning.
Orla, we've canvassed together. We know each other very well. I would say you're a true blue, but you also you're environmentally conscious. You had an environmental radio show. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, I would have, but I mean, I think it's incumbent on all the parties really to do the right thing about climate, and I think you can see that happening within Fine Gael. I think Simon Harris would be, really adamant that those targets are met, and we just have to meet them. But the difference between Fine Gael and the Greens, I think, is that Fine Gael have been going out, speaking to the farmers, speaking to the community, and engaging with people before they make decisions around climate. So I think that's what's very important. So I think all of us are going to, we've all seen the impact. So I think all the parties are going to have to do something. I don't think, I would have thought Michael Noonan would have held on to a seat from just the boxes I was tallying. It doesn't look great for him, but I wasn't in a lot of the city boxes. So what do you think of Malcolm's seat?
I would have said up to today he is not going to take a seat. And it was based on the transfers of the 2020 general election, in that he got over 2,000 votes from Adrian Wallace. And I always thought that was a protest vote, because it came from Kathleen's massive surplus down, and it stayed left, and then it went to Malcolm. And then the Greens went into government with Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. And it was based on not only my interpretation of that, in that he might lose the protest vote this time because he's a government TD, but across the country, it doesn't look like the Greens are doing too well. Catherine Martin is in a bit of bother up in Dublin, Rathdown. Is that right? Seen any results around the country?
Yeah, no, I've been totally tally focused now since 8 o'clock this morning. I'm in this.
Spoiler alert.
I know, I'm in this bubble. The only thing that everyone is showing me is Jerry the Moncuch looking possible to take a seat. And so, around the country, I don't have a look. It's the same as the fact that Fine Gael have been in government and have had to make a whole load of really difficult decisions over the past 15 years, and still have held the percentage of their vote, is very good, because you usually get a drubbing for making hard decisions. And, you know, I think the thing that Sinn Féin don't really understand is there is a certain pocket of money and you can't give everything to everyone that they ask for. So if you're campaigning on just saying, we'd give everyone everything, then you should really be able to increase your vote massively. And Sinn Féin have been unable to do that. So I think that's really interesting, that if you've been making difficult fiscal decisions because there's only a certain amount of money and your percentage share of the vote hasn't gone down, which it hasn't in Fine Gael, and that the Sinn Féin hasn't, even though they're handing out sweeties to everyone, hasn't managed to capitalise on the fact of that. I think that's interesting. That's a good day for Fine Gael.
I'm a big fan of sweeties. If Sinn Féin want to give me sweeties, I'm up for that. The
Some sweeties or biscuits in the bag there.
Fabulous. I'm sugar deprived here now. North Kilkenny lost 6,500 votes. Now, I saw on social media you were canvassing for David. You might have been out for Michael and Catherine as well, but 6,500 votes is a lot in a section of area. Now, David would have I imagine David got the north, Michael got the south, and Catherine got Carlow. How do northern-based candidates deal with that, or how will it affect them, do you reckon?
Well, I think what happens historically when people are taken out of what is rightly their constituency, that the poll just collapses, that most people don't vote. And I think based on speaking to people up there, that's what's happening. They just feel disenfranchised. They don't know the Tipperary candidates. The Tipperary candidates don't think that, you know, they're going to look after them. And so what usually happens is there's a huge fall off in the people who vote. But I think, like, John McGuinness would have had the majority of vote in that area, so he would probably stand to lose the most from that.
Someone told me last night approximately 2,000 votes, and Fine Gael might lose 1,000 votes. Now, that was off the top of their heads.
Yeah, I heard, in and around 2,000, maybe 2,200, or but there's different figures for John McGuinness up there. But yeah, I mean, it's not a good thing for politics. It would be, I think of all the realignments of the constituencies, that wasn't one that looked rational to anybody. It wasn't one that anyone had anticipated. So people had looked at various other things that would have worked better. But I mean, it just has alienated those whole cohort of people up around Tullerone. I think there's 13 different districts. So yeah, it's
Galmoy, I think, as well.
Galmoy, yeah. No, I would be furious if I was suddenly sliced off from Carlow Kilkenny constituency. But you just have to hope and campaign and that it comes back in again. These things do go in circles, you know.
You ran the locals and you put a lot of work into it. You were campaigning from November until March, and it didn't go your way. It was a tough weekend. You're sticking around.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be here until I get some position in Fine Gael. No, I think I'm completely committed to Fine Gael, completely committed to the party. I think I've shown that in the election campaign I run. It would have been, Fine Gael doesn't have 3 seats naturally. We have 2 seats in the other areas. So it was a very good vote. And I'm going to stand here and be part of Fine Gael and see what comes my way. I'm not even going to see what comes my way. I'm going to go out and fight for what comes my way. Anyway, you never know if people get elected. There are co-option conventions that happen as well. So they're democratic elections of people. And I think a lot of the Fine Gael members would see that I have done a huge amount of work and commitment for Fine Gael. So we shall see what happens there.
And after, I'm sorry to dwell on it, but after that weekend, it must have been tough mentally. What advice do you have for candidates who might be unsuccessful today?
Weirdly enough, it wasn't that tough. It was much tougher the first time. The second time, you're kind of very pragmatic. So you just look at the numbers and you go, with the percentage of Fine Gael votes, there most probably isn't 3 seats here. So the advantage of not getting elected is that you get your life back. And you can suddenly just kind of go and do things and breathe and do all the million things you meant to. I just had so much work I have been working flat out. I've got about 22 projects, design and project management, that I'm working on all the time. So that was really important for me to get straight back into work. So you kind of go, okay, this is great. I'm now going to do this very well. But I would always stay in touch with Fine Gael and work for Fine Gael, and I am actually for the party. But for people who don't get elected, I mean, it was David Fitzgerald who said to me the first time I decided to run for election in the city, and he said, oh yeah, the one thing you have to remember about elections is you can lose them. And I was like, oh, because it sounded like, but he's right. And they're all seasoned. Like Michael Doyle and David will all know, like, it's a serendipitous pursuit. It's not, I mean, you can see this week that it's not to do with, you can run a very good campaign, you can be a very good candidate. First of all, it's not a meritocracy, so the best people don't always get elected. Sometimes the best people don't even get through convention, but Shinch Gael. And also, like the wins and the vagaries of the media, the campaigning, your party leader, how they're perceived. Like, so there can be swings of 10, 15% on this week that are completely nothing to do with the candidates here. You know, and you can either win a seat or not win a seat based on that. So you can have run an excellent candidate, canvassed everywhere, had really good policies, really engaged with people, have a track record for working hard, and not win a seat.
I feel like I've completely monopolised you, and poor Paul is here dying to ask you questions, and I'm very sorry, Paul, for we got carried away there.
I know that's perfectly okay. So, you're pretty confident, Orla, that Fine Gael will definitely retain a seat here in Carlow, Kilkenny, based on what you've seen.
Yeah, certainly looking at the numbers, there has to be a seat there. So the transfers will work well enough. The thing is, it's actually much more difficult to gauge. So obviously when you have an incumbent, and when we had a sitting TD, you know, it was almost a fait accompli, and it would have been very hard for another candidate to do anything but bring them in and possibly win a second seat. Whereas in this instance, it's wide open, and a lot of it again is to do with the geography of which of the Fine Gael candidates have a strong candidate from another party in their area. I'd find it very hard to call at the moment. I don't see two Fine Gael seats at the moment.
It's fascinating to watch.
It is so great, as I said, and I make this joke at my own expense all the time. It is a great blood sport, so that's all we love it. I mean, we're not all lined up here in our political anoraks and it was so funny. So all the people tallying, you know, very experienced people and people who've been tallying and been involved in Fine Gael for up to 50 years or whatever. And I was going, "Did you sleep last night?" And they were going, "No, I woke up at 5 and I just couldn't go back to sleep, and I made a fry." And I was going, "What is wrong with us?" It's like Santa Claus coming.
Yeah, Christmas is literally come early. I think you said it before, Paidi, that politics is probably the only blood sport that the Green Party would look to back. Well, Orla, thanks a million for taking the time to talk to us here on the Irish Political Roundup. It's been fascinating, and we wish you every success for the rest of the count.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Cool. Thanks a million.
Father, thank you.